Well, hi guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we are going to be starting to remove the dash and prepare to install the air conditioning kit into our Puma 90. So we're actually going to be fitting two air conditioning systems to our little 90. So it's probably going to be the coldest Defender 90 on the planet. But basically the first thing we're going to do in this episode is make a start at fitting the factory equivalent of the air conditioning that goes through the engine bay and basically cools down the front two seats, the cab if you like. Now, it's a very similar system to the factory system, so it uses all the same brackets, condensers, pipes. It's a pretty elementary install, but it's quite involved, so we have to take the whole dash out. We have to remove some bits and pieces from inside the dash just to allow us to get access to run pipes through and things like that. The second air conditioning unit is actually a cubby box unit that's going to sit between the seats and feed the rear passengers, so everyone's going to be super cool. So this would be a great vehicle for a very hot climate, which we don't have here in the UK, but it's just a really good way to demonstrate what's possible with aftermarket stuff now. So as you know, this was a very, very basic 90 pickup, and it's now going to be blessed with full air conditioning front and rear. So we've got pretty good instructions, but the pictures don't come out on a printout. You're much better off just checking online for the images that you need, if you need them. So with our dash removed, it says here all we've got to do is remove the duct here to the blower box. That should be easy. Then we've got to remove the dash support bar, which is this thing here. It just looks like it's 3 bolts either side and possibly 2 little screws into that bracket there. Remove the air ducts as well, all of these, and remove the heater box here. So we've got some little plastic fixings on here. They are 10s, I think. And they shouldn't take much removing. Try and remember where everything comes from. It can't be just one, there's got to be another one in there somewhere, is there? Nope. Okay. The crash bar is just underneath here. I could probably wriggle it out, but it's going to be a lot easier if I just remove that, I think. Little screw on the top there. Hopefully it'll be the same on the other side. It's just so fragile, those tabs. They're being really awkward. Obviously we've got our heater element in there. It's got to come out, so I'm going to try and catch the water. Nice and clean. There were 2 bolts quite hard to get to at the front here and 2 at the top, and it still feels attached. I've injured myself again. Right, there you go. It was that bit there. Okay, it's out. Now I've got to go to A&E. Right, so this is the bulkhead face. That's how it sits in the vehicle. So there literally is only those 2 and these two holding it in. You've got this bung at the bottom which you have to release. That shouldn't be too much trouble, but you can see there is a friction point there, and that was hitting up, and that was basically hitting up against this bracket, okay, at the back here. The bit that was really wedged in is this top piece here, so that was basically really stuck in, so you're going to have to give it a really good yank. So yes, it's brute force, I'm afraid, but just try and wear gloves, because it did cut me, because it's got some really sharp bits on here. So yeah, wearing gloves is a real must. So now we've got to install our condenser, which is this, and that goes in the middle of our heater box. So it wants you to split it. It doesn't say how to split it, but I'm guessing it's, well, obviously that's got to go in the middle here. So I'm going to take this top section off. Obviously it makes sense that where our bung was there to drain, that would be underneath our condenser, because obviously you get moisture. Nice. Right, let's give that a really good clean. Now it doesn't tell me to remove this bung in here, but I think we have to. So I'm going to. That'll allow it to drain. So in the back face here, look, we've got a blanking plug. So we've just opened that access port, and that is for that. Right, I'm going to split it apart that way as well. Right, it's these bits I'm worried about. Also got one right down there and right in there. Okay, this has to go like so. Let's get this reattached. That's it. So that is where you want to stick your probe. You can just see there, look, pushed into the centre of the core, and there's a little channel just here, little channel just there where I'm going to run my wire through, and then just got it in there. Make sure it's free, and it clips onto that housing clip there that I showed you earlier. So now we should just be able to get all of that buttoned up. Get the top on first. Now you've also got a little tiny clip just here on the side where I can drop that in. Right, just get the rest of the screws in and we're done. Right, so we've actually fixed our relay block now onto the fuse board. So it asks you to connect these two wires here. There's a red one and a pink one, and they go into the corresponding locations in the fuse board itself. We've got one for AC there, so that's the 20, that's a 10 amp, which I think is the pink one. And then down here we've got here a 20 amp one, which is the red one. So you just have to plug the pin in and then attach the fuse, and they're all ready to go. We've still got quite a lot of, we've got an earth there that's got to be grounded somewhere. There is a plate in the pack, this plate here. So I've mounted the plate on, and I'm going to orientate it like that onto there. Okay, so it's mounted on the bottom, it's just held away. I don't know why they wouldn't have put another bolt in there, but anyway, unless I've done it wrong. I can't see another way of mounting that, if I'm honest, because they want you to do it on the bottom bolt. Anyway, it's good and solid. There's no mention I can see, and I will correct myself if I do, of where that's grounded. I'm thinking maybe it ought to go up there. We've got to push the looms through the bulkhead, so I'm going to do that now as well. Right, so now what we've got to do is, you can see this is the heater control cable that plugs into the back of the unit there, and we need to solder into this blue wire from our loom over there, and then the orange and red needs to be soldered into this one here, which is the dash illumination. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we're one step closer. Okay, so we're all done. Now we have teed into the blue wire on the connector for the heater controls. We've teed in to the illumination wire. Now I've also just had to remove the blanking for or cut the bulkhead grommet, and that's ready to pass our loom through. So I'm going to be doing that now. Right, unfortunately we have got some very vague instructions on this part of the build. So it says pass the main loom through the bulkhead. Now I've got these T sections which won't pass through, so I basically pass it through what I can. There's a really long wire there, which is a grounding wire, which I think you have to get as close to the ECU as possible. And then this one I think goes to the fan. But the other one connects to the pressure switch, which is on the pipework, and the connection for it is over there on the dash inside. So I think it has to come through that part of the bulkhead, but it only says clip the grommet on the bulkhead, singular. So I was trying to fit both through and I thought, well, that's just not right. But anyway, we will find out. So normally it would say build up your dash at this point, but I'm not going to do that in case I need to fiddle around. So I'm just going to take this plastic cover off next. We've got to get the fan off. I'm just waiting for Barry from Rugged 4x4 to come along with his tool to do that with me. And then we'll start stripping the radiators off the front. So this is the dirty side of the job, but we'll get stuck in. Our ECU is on the bulkhead firewall back there, and it wants us to release the loom as well so we can start working around that. We've got to release the ECU to get access to the block valve. The block valve is the piece on the back face of the heater box that we put in, and it's behind the ECU. Right, I've just released the loom a little bit, and I think if I release these two nuts 10 mils, we should be able to move our ECU out of the way a little bit. And there's the block valve. So if we zoom in down here, this is the back of the heater box. And there's the block valve that we want to get access to. I've had to rely on professional help now from Barry. Can I hold anything for you?
No, you're all right.
Do you want my hammer?
So basically,
yeah,
whatever way the fins come away from the engine is the way the fan opens. So if you go that way, the fan goes that way, and if you go that way,
cool.
That way.
Cool, cool.
It goes that way. So
need a big hammer?
Big hammer.
Don't forget it's just been painted.
No, it hits that.
I could have hit that.
No, it hits that. It hits that all the time.
You knew. You just wanted to frighten me, didn't you?
There you go.
Oh, thank you very much. What size spanners that I need to get?
36 mil. And a hammer.
Wow, thank you. Okay, so we've got access, which is great. Now, what we have to do is we've got on here an earth cable, and that has to go on this earth point here, just near the ECU. So we'll get that off as well. We're going to fit the dryer. Now, the dryer comes, thank God, on its bracket already, so it should orientate pretty nicely in here. That's our reservoir off. Okay, luckily they're all captive studs by the feel of things, he says, before dropping a nut. Nope, there we go. Yeah, so you get rid of this bracket completely, and then you use the dryer bracket to mount the dryer and the reservoir. So you just get rid of that other one and then it all makes sense. That's where your dryer sits. So we've replaced the bracket completely, and then we've replaced it with the dryer bracket, and that mounts both the reservoir and our dryer. Right. Watch your fingers. Gosh. There you go. So I like the bearing on this one much more than that. Okay, well, we'll fit it and see what happens. So you can just see there our block assembly. That one there. So we've just removed the plug from that. We're going to get the pipe work in there now. Okay, I won't lie, it has taken quite a lot to get to this stage. So we got our block connector in, which was a bit of a struggle because everything was fighting against it, but we ran that over to here, and that's going to join the compressor. Then we fed the other side through here, and that was supposed to connect to the dryer, but obviously it's not long enough. So there's an additional pipe that you run on the compressor. Now I've just got, on the dryer. So I've just got this dryer a little bit loose in here so I can move it to get it orientated correctly. I hope I've done it right, I should have done. That passes under the wing and goes along there, pops out. These two connect together, a union, and then I'm just going to mount this. Unfortunately, it doesn't sit perfectly, so I'm just going to have a little wrangle with that and move that up a little bit and hopefully get it mounted onto there. And then we are pretty good. And then I think the next thing we're going to do is mount the compressor itself. Off it up. So we've got 3 different bolts. We've got our new idler tensioner in the wrong place. It actually sits over to the left. So a little bit close to that, so we need to make sure that's well out of the way. So I've got the ribs on the inside here, over the compressor, down, around, all the way on the outside, up into the middle, around, back on the grooves on the main pulley, up onto the tensioner, flat side, down onto this one, up, back up to the compressor. Okay, we're going to start taking off the A-frame because we're now going to start exploring into the radiator. Now we are going to be taking the intercooler out as well because we're fitting a new one. We're going to do that today as well. And then we've got to drill these rivets out. Right, so we've got our AliSport uprated intercooler and our brand new Nissan's water rad, now cooling rad. Now you can just see here that we're interfering with these plastic lugs on our actual radiator, and that's because the intercooler is so much deeper. So what we need to do is just cut these off. It's not going to affect the installation at all, but we can do that. So we've got to cut those off, and then we've also got to do a slight modification to the right hand bracket, mounting bracket. We'll do that as well in a moment, but we'll cut that off, get it all mounted in and offer it up. Perfect. So there you can see there, we're nicely located inside. That's all good. Now, the other thing it tells us in the instructions from AliSport is that our right hand bracket, that's these ones here, has to be trimmed back. So take the bracket that the bonnet support clips into, and it's the right hand side as you're facing the vehicle, and we just have to trim this little section off here. I've got my rubber bungs mounted, so drop that straight in. Right, we've got a rad in and it's been held in place by the pipes. So we're now ready for our intercooler. And that's in place as well. Just going to pop our pipes on. It's certainly much easier to get everything installed when you haven't got your slam plate and all your brackets in the way. Now, I think we need to offer our brackets up into place now and get those on. Now you also get some new little nuts that slot in captive into the rad. So we'll just push those in if we can. we're rock solid with our new rad, our beautiful new intercooler. You've got to agree, that does look pretty sick. Now, because this is a retrofit air conditioning system, we're going to fit our condenser, which is down there on the top, and carry on with the AC installation. So it was a bit tricky to get these lines in and around everything, but it is doable. You just got to be really patient and don't put too much strain on the welds or the brazes, whatever you call them. This one's not quite sitting flat, so I've had to just twist that, but I didn't do it on the head. I did it at one of the bends. So hopefully we can get our rad in. Okay, just to make sure that everything stays in place, I'm just going to do a zip tie on here, because we have to, this is one of our main mounting points. In fact, let's put it over here so I don't get in the way of that. Right, so that's in place. We can attach our lines now. You don't want to cross thread that. So just finger tight in, just going. Okay, this one's a bit trickier. There we go. Right, we've got 3 brackets to mount. This is our first one, although it's a bit low. Let's check that one. And then we've got 2 here as well. It's a shame they don't line up with the holes, but anyway. So a couple of things about this new heater matrix. I'm a little bit concerned, mostly because I've done these clamps up as much as they will go, but they're still loose, so I can't tighten them up anymore, and they're still moving. I just don't know if that's holding it enough. It is on, but it just seems really loose. The other thing as well is the snout, if you like, of the heater matrix doesn't stick out as far as the original one, so when it's in, it's buried. So I had to trim this off just to get it tightened up, because you can't really hold it out, it's all out of line. So there's a little bit of rust in there already on that, so not super impressed with that, but hopefully it's better than the other one, because that has started to leak. But we're going to put some coolant in now and see if she leaks. Right, we're in a good place now with our AC installation and obviously our intercooler and everything. It's looking really good. I'm a little bit stalled now because I'm just waiting for confirmation on how the other AC unit gets fitted, in case I have to strip the dash again, which I don't want to do. Plus, we're going to be fitting power windows, and I want to run the wiring in for those as well before I reinstall the dash. So, not quite sure whether or not you'll see this complete or not quite complete or almost complete, but I did notice something that was missing from the footage. Now, I filmed something that's really important that didn't come out, and I need to just describe that now, and it's all about how to get your slam plate out without, you know, spreading apart your wings and everything else, because it was something that I wasn't aware of, and obviously did a bit of research, and this is something that is worth knowing, because if you're going to do the AC install, or you're doing a new rad or a new intercooler, it could be really useful. So what I want to do is talk about the bolts up here that attach the slam plate and our side plates onto the wing. So these bolts are actually studs, and I thought they were captive bolts that just came straight through, and it really made the job potentially impossible virtually to get everything out. But actually it's a captive nut on the back, and that's a stud, so all you have to do is work 2 nuts against each other on that stud, and then just work them backwards to release the stud out of the wing. Now you only have to do it on one side, because you can then lift it up and slide it out. So it's a really trick bit of knowledge, I think, that you could use, and that'll just make the job a whole lot easier. I'll cut into pictures of it on the vehicle. You can see where the studs are, and like I say, to remove those, just work 2 nuts against each other, and then obviously tighten them up together, and then wound it out, and the whole stud came out, and then the reinstall process is the same. But that made everything a lot easier, and enabled us to do what we did. So everything's installed. Another thing I didn't mention on the video, which I had to redo the bolts on here because the cover was in the wrong place. So make sure when you put the bolts in, one of the bolts is got a threaded piece on the end, and that is for the top so that you can mount your cover. Don't do it 3 times like I did. So I've also pulled the other loom through the bulkhead. I did this one on the left-hand side. This is for the control unit, and you have to just build this up, but that's all done. We've got our switch ready to be installed. These are obviously the original plugs that go in. Like I say, I'm going to be fitting the power window, so I'm just going to probably put the wiring in for that first before we put the dash together. Another thing that didn't come out on the footage, because I was rambling away and didn't realise the camera had run out of batteries, but when we reassembled this, you can just see on these 2 cogs, there's an arrow in the middle of each. So when you reassemble that, just make sure that the arrows are pointing each other in the middle, and then you know everything's going to work as it should, which I will demonstrate now badly. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? No. Is it this one? Of course it is. So you can just see there, look. Okay. Right, let's get a look at these power windows and see if we can get those installed. This isn't going to be part of this video, but I have got down here an installation kit for the power windows, the regulators. And obviously it comes with wiring, as you can see here. So I thought I'd try and wire this into the dash, or the bulkhead really, while the dash is out. And I will put this in the video when I release the video for fitting the window regulators. But just to let you know, that's what I'm doing here. So I'm going to whiz these in quickly, then we're going to put the dash in, and then hopefully the job is done and ready. So that was a massive job, if I'm honest, but quite rewarding, and it's all installed. You can see I've got the dash all put back in. I've even got the power windows installed. We'll cover that in the next episode, which comes out on Friday. We've got the power windows all installed. We've got the stinger back in, and just finishing off the carpet and everything. So it's really come together. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how easy or not easy, depending on your skill ability, it is to install, retrofit an air conditioning unit into a Defender. I have started the vehicle and the belt runs fine. I haven't really run it up to temperature yet to know whether or not we've got a leak. That'll all come to fruition on Friday. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Do subscribe, give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one.